Hello, Assalamu alaikum. A wonderful day, all of you. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professional Free International webinar in IGP. Thank you all for joining with us in this wonderful session. My lovely audience, today I am your host. I am Kamrul, coordinator of IGP from Bangladesh. Dear knowledge seekers, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. It's my delight to host this webinar, and it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professional Free International webinar. Thank you all again for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon, and it's my humble request to you all that you stay with us till end. And don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friends. So let's together and learn together. Today we have Today we have a speaker from Philippines. Today our speaker name is Josephine Tolentino. She is a technology and livelihood education teacher from Doles National High School. She is also an organist and coordinator Association of Estijon Madini. Let's welcome our speaker to the screen. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to IGP platform.
Hello, sir, and thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with the Institute of Global Professionals. I am Josephine Tolentino, and I'm speaking live here in the municipality of Magalang, province of Pampanga in the Philippines. Before I start, allow me to greet my fellow professionals and our dear audience. A very pleasant day, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I am currently teaching at Dolores National High School, and I am handling technology and livelihood education for grade 8 and grade 9. Also, I am a coordinator, organist, choir trainer of the mandated organization of St. John Mary Vianney. The role of teachers will be, or for today, I am glad to share with you the presentation of my topic. The role of teachers in times of pandemic. So I will be your speaker for today, sir.
Yes, ma'am. You can start your presentation now.
Okay, so the role of teachers in times of pandemic. So this will be my topic. And for our discussion, these are the different topics. I I will discuss the definition of a teacher, the teacher's role inside the classroom. The two crucial factors have shifted the role of the teachers due to the pandemic. The new role of educators during and after COVID-19. And for our objective, ay, and for our objective, identify the role of the teacher inside the classroom. Identify the two crucial factors have shifted their roles due to pandemic that need to be adopted. Describe new role of teacher during pandemic, adapting to technology. Let me start. The definition of a teacher. Let me define the word teacher by giving you this quote from Albert Hubbard. The teacher is the one who gets the most out of the lessons, and the true teacher is the learner. So we know that the teacher is a person who helps people to learn. A teacher is a person who provides education for people, one who teach or instruct people. So these are teachers are professionals who were trained to share their knowledge they acquired through the years of studying to the new generation of students. So the word teacher refers to someone who is concerned in teaching, and the teacher is also the true learner. Through the years of teaching, a teacher may learn different experiences, either success or failures. Through these experiences, the teacher can adjust his or her way of teaching. Then, what are the roles of a teacher? So, the role of a teacher may be the role model. Why? Students look to teachers are as examples of professional adults because they have more time to contact with their teachers than their own parents. So it is important for teachers to always reflect a positive image and teach children like things like respect, trust, and responsibility. As the saying goes, walk the talk. A teacher can do this through the actions and words in the classroom, leading by example. A teacher shall maintain at all times dignified personality which could serve as the model worthy of emulation of learners, peers, and others. From the Code of Ethics, Article 11, Section 3. Another, a teacher may be a surrogate parent. As a parent, you may find certain students who lean on you for your support and come to you for advice to share their good news. Positive adult contact is crucial to raising well balanced children, and teachers are often given the charge of being a surrogate parents of their children. But what is the difference between a teacher and a parent? Teachers spend time preparing children to learn academic skills by creating lesson plans, class work, and homework assignments. Parents try to make sure their children complete homework assignments, turn them in on time, and sometimes provide academic enrichment through after school tutoring learning games. Why do we say a teacher is a second parent? All of us have heard the saying, teacher is the second mother and mother is the second teacher. Teachers are placed in the place of mother because they always show us the right way. Sometimes your teacher knows more of your secrets than your mother and still keeps them. Teachers are inspirational and selfless. So another role of teacher is the manager. They manage students and activities during class time. Classroom management is the linchpin that makes teaching and learning achievable in the teaching learning process. So it is the teacher who played the main role in planning, organizing, procedure, and resources. Also, arranging the environment to maximize efficiency. They monitor students' progress and anticipate potential problems. And we have communicator. So when we say the role of communicator is for teaching and encompasses all the qualities required to communicate effectively, patience, sense of humor, diplomacy, and respect for cultural diversity. So communication skills involve in listening and speaking as well as reading and writing. For effective teaching, a teacher need to be highly skilled in all the understandable according to Freddie Silver. So effective communication skills are important for a teacher in transmitting of education, classroom management, and interaction with the students in the class. To teach in accordance with the ability and capability of the students, a teacher need to adapt such skills of communication which motivate the students toward their learning process. And a teacher is also a planner. Do you believe in that? Of course, a teacher is always a planner who chooses the materials needed or the methodology before the course or lesson. Teachers are great planners since a teacher always plan ahead of time. So go, if we just go inside the classroom and do not even have any plan, we will not reach our target. So without a good plan, the inexperienced teacher crashes. So if we do not have the plan, we always fail. We always commit errors. So then they must pick up themselves. If we do not have that plan, we try to start by we move and then by having a better plan. And as any teacher will admit, crashes lead to success, success to experience, and experience lead to a happy veteran teacher. So this is from our quote. This is what we mean by a teacher is a true learner. And the last one is the teacher as facilitator. But what is a facilitator? A facilitator is the person who assists a group of people in grasping at their common targets and in achieving them without intervention on his or her behalf. Therefore, we may say that the teacher has to play the role of a facilitator inside the classroom. So this means that the teacher should not be the king who controls the activities of the learners. Therefore, he or she should grant the learners some space to let the spirit of creativity and innovation. In other words, the learners must get involved into an active participation that would be presented in any argumentative discussion and teamwork activities so that the process of learning become comprehensive. A teacher encourage learners to participate, contribute ideas, and guiding learners and checking their activities. So those are the role of a teacher. So let us move now to this one. How did pandemic change the role of the teachers? Do you think pandemic has really changed the role of the teachers? Let me define pandemic. Pandemic, it is a disease outbreak that spread across the countries or continents. It affects more people and takes more lives than an epidemic, occurring over a wide geographic area, such as multiple air countries or continents, and typically affecting a significant proportion of the population. That until now, it is pandemic is present, has no did not yet end. So one of the most affected operation in the country, in the world, is the operation in every school. The sudden close of the school, no classes, no students, no buses, who will pick the students to and from the schools and drop them to their houses. So this is what happened in the time of pandemic, the close or operation of the school. And how has the pandemic changed the role of the teachers? But what are your views? Did pandemic really change this role? So during this time, there was what we call the change of teaching environments and the division of time between teaching and administrative tasks. So in here, the change of teaching environments, we have the pre-pandemic and then during pandemic. What happened during the pre-pandemic? So you can see in these pictures, the images, that when we say environment is in the school. Classes are being held in the classroom, are being done in the classroom. I mean, activities are done with the grouping. So there is a group participation. And during the pandemic, it was found out during the lockdown, the teachers made adjustments in teaching and learning designs guided by the policies implemented by every institution. So as a result, education has changed dramatically with the distinctive rise of e-learning whereby teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platforms. So this is what happened. Activities were done in the at home and it is only through self-paced. But still, the division of time between teaching and administrative tasks, the tasks of teachers were changed. And they have their online classes to keep reaching out for the students. Of course, teachers have to make a formulation, production, arranging, and packing, and distribution of the modules because they are using different platforms and teachers need to submit reports, and of course teachers need to attend webinars, LAC sessions, and they communicate through the different platforms through Zoom, via Google. So those are the ways on how they communicate. So this time, the situation is not difficult only for the students, but is challenging for the teachers equally. So both are facing challenges in managing timetables with students and fellow teachers. With the virtual teaching, fellow teachers are also able to coordinate with each other and discuss ways and other important things. So virtual meetings on Zoom and other apps of video are helping students in their academic. So here, studies become more flexible. Okay? And then the two crucial factors that have shifted due to the pandemic. First, we have the pedagogical adaptations of have proven to be pivotal as the traditional lecturing in person models do not translate to a remote learning environment. So this time, since the teachers you need to use different platforms, it is very different from the traditional lecturing in person. That in the traditional lecturing or traditional method, remote learning is not being used. So this time, we apply remote learning environment. That's why they have to use different platform, although the radio, TV, mobile, online, modular. So teachers need to adopt these practices and that need to be creative in order to keep the students engaged as every household has become a classroom. So that is the purpose of using the different platform in teaching. Another, the pandemic has recalibrated how teachers divide their time between teaching, engaging with students, and administrative tasks. So these are what we mean by the pandemic has recalibrated, has changed, has uh, recalibrated, adjust. What I mean, adjust their task with the students, and then with the administrative task. Okay, and what are the different or the new roles of educators during and after COVID-19? From the book of Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of Freedom in 1996. Whoever teaches learn in the act of teaching, and whoever learns in the act of teaching. Meaning, people teach and learn at the same time, but what happens if people do not have a place to transmit, receive, and share knowledge and opinions? I believe that the best teacher never stop learning while finding and creative solutions to all aspects of classroom culture, material, and assessment. The most effective teachers are open to learning from students and letting the knowledge have an influence on what they teach and how they teach. Since more often than not, we are all product of our environment that has influence over us in one way or another. Some aspects of the way I have been taught, I believe the teachers that impact me most were dynamic, passionate about what they teach. So today, educators must be future focused. Educators must be lifelong learners. Educators must be facilitators of learning, not sages on stages. Facilitators be expert generalists, not specialists. Educators must embrace discovery learning, and educators must enhance instruction with real world meaning. So these are the next part of the topic. So let me start again. Educators must be future focused. How can you use technology too? So when you say personalizing the learning, it says here that to build the school curriculum around the learner and more flexibly meet learners' need. So, a personalized approach in the classroom allows every student to take the control in their own learning. And each student is unique and learns in different ways. Personalizing learning means students understand how they own and drive their learning. So at the same time, they are co-designers of the curriculum and their learning environment. That's why student learning needs, interests, and capability determine the pace of learning in personalized learning environment. The learning objective, content, method, and pace may all vary. This is why our main focus is are the students. The center is the student itself. Next, building an inclusive learning environment. When we say environment, this is what we mean by environment where there is somebody who support, and it is the physically it is the classroom itself. So an inclusive classroom is one that creates a supportive environment for all learners. including those with learning differences and one that can also challenge and engage gifted and talented learners by building a more responsive learning environment. So when we say inclusivity, also means respecting people from all backgrounds and cultures. Whatever culture, whatever backgrounds, there is what we call respect. By teaching our students the importance of this, we can create a much more tolerant and understanding environment, not just in the classroom and also in school, but also in the wider society. And how can we do that? We engage learners, families, and communities in co-shaping education to address students' needs, strengths, interests, and aspirations, to provide access to anywhere, anytime learning. And then there is what we call support assessment and evaluation processes, so that these are dynamic and responsive to all information about students. So that is one educator must be future focused. Next, in developing a school curriculum. Developing a school curriculum to enable students to create and use new knowledge to solve and find solutions to challenges on a just-in-time basis. Just like what the curriculum has made now, the challenges during the pandemic, there was what we call a just-in-time basis. So rethinking learners and teachers' role. In here, the teachers do not only work alone, but the teachers and learners must work together, because you cannot make the curriculum, you cannot create the curriculum if you do not know what are the wants and needs of the students that will align to the curriculum. And building a culture of continuous learning. Opportunities to participate in and build professional learning are afforded by technologies. So we can build a continuous learning through the use of technologies, just like what we are using now in our institute, global professionals. What we do now, it is a continuous learning, just focus. We can share anything, we can share as long it concerns education. Okay? And then the new kinds of partnerships and relationship. When you say partnership, the school do not just work alone, or the administrative task is inside the classroom. They need to make partnership also outside the community. So the school, the community, the teachers will work hand in hand in order to create a what we say future focus. And the next, educators must be a lifelong learners. Do you believe that teachers are lifelong learners, or is it only the teachers who are lifelong learners? Lifelong learners means is a form of self-initiated education that is focused on personal development. As what is pause here, when you think you know everything, that's when you stop being an expert. Being a good teacher is being a good learner. What we mean when we say lifelong learners, education, if we want to have a personal development, education will be a self-initiated. No one will going to force us. So it means learning does not end once you graduate from school, as learning is a lifelong process. We learn many ways and we do not stop learning. So, being curious is also a part of learning. And then today, studies or the education is no longer very hard for us, very easy to achieve because there is what we call the e-learning, and then we can have like what you see in this picture. There is what we call the online learning, such as the online teaching, webinars, online teacher training. So the different programs that we can learn that are being offered, we can have them. So after our tertiary, it doesn't mean that we need to stop and be comfortable and stay in our job, but we need to move and step forward ahead. But we really have to sacrifice job, and at the same time, we are studying also. Why good educators are lifelong learners? Lifelong learners help educators incorporate new tools and strategies in teaching their students. If we will just focus on the old tradition that we will just going to stick on what we learned in our tertiary, we will not able to get the attention of the students because we do not have new strategies every day. There always come a time that we need to have a new strategies in teaching the students. And of course, as a good or lifelong learners, we what we call the characteristic. So these are the characteristics of a lifelong learners. Lifelong learners can conquer challenges. Like us, we treat mistakes and challenges as part of the learning process. So those are what we call the lifelong learners. And whatever it comes, we accept the challenge. If the curriculum will change, we try to adjust ourselves. So that is what we call lifelong learners. Innovate to improve learning outcomes. So when we say innovate, teachers who put their hands together to come up with the innovative ideas to use in teaching achieve better student outcomes than outdated teaching methods. We are teachers. We need to work hand in hand with the students. We need to be innovative or what we call creative. We think of a new ways on how to get or intact with the students in order to teach them a new ideas. Another one, third one, act as a role model for students. Effective educators accomplish this by sharing experiences of working through the learning process, meaning we are the model to our students. Just like what we have done, what I have explained to the previous slides, teacher as a role model. Students will going to look up at us, professional adults. We are the example to them. So whatever we do it sincerely and honesty. Educators, again, must be a lifelong learners. So what is the importance of being a lifelong learners? It recognizes the humans have a natural drive to explore, learn, and grow, and encourages us to improve our own quality of life and sense of self-worth by paying attention to the ideas and goals that inspire us. That we may not be contented to what we are now. So we need to have to explore, learn, and grow so that we may improve our personal development. So that is educators must be lifelong learners. And educators must be lifelong learners. How do we adapt to be? How do we adapt being a lifelong learning in our life? First, recognize your own personal interests and goals. Make a list of what you would like to learn or be able to do. Identify how would you like to get involved and the resources available. Structure the learning goal into your life and then make a commitment. So this is how can be a lifelong learning will be in your life. Okay. Next one, educators must be lifelong or educators must be generalists, not specialists. What is the difference between a generalist and a specialist? There are two columns here. So I have written here the difference between a generalist and a specialist. So being an educator, we must be generalist. When we say generalist, it is the jack of all trades, master of none. He knows everything, they know everything, everything. So, and then for the specialist, student-centered learning. There is only one um, specialty, what we call specialized. And then for the generalists, they say they study many different fields to understand more profound principles across domain in order to make connections. So with the different fields that they understand, they know, they can come across the different domains in order to make it, they can easily make connections. And for the specialists, they are expert in their own specific field. For the generalist, one whose skills, interests, or habits are varied and specialized. They don't have a specialty. They have varied or habits. They know how to dance, they know how to sing, they know mathematics, they master everything. So there is what we call unspecialized. Not like a specialist might not be able to find the best employees, they can draw up the best employment contracts as a seasoned employment. So educators must be generalists but not a specialist. Educators must enhance instruction in the with the real world meaning. What is a real world learning? Real world learning is an approach to learning that involves working with the community partners and industry experts to engage students in authentic, relevant problems, projects, and experiences that develop career awareness and readiness. So, this real world meaning, just like in our K to 12, when students are in the grade 12, they need to go out for what they call as an immersion. So working with the community partners and the industry expert. So whatever their specialization, they will go out and have a community partners, and industry experts to engage students in authentic or relevant problems, projects that will develop career awareness and readiness. But this is just for a short time. That is what we call a real world meaning. We do not just study inside the classroom, but it is not more on theories, but we need to go out and have or look in the community what is the real world in order to develop our awareness and readiness in the future when we go out or when these students will go out in the real life. So educators must enhance instruction with real-world meaning. Why is it important to take learning into the world meaning? A real-world education teach you things that you would never learn unless you sought them out for yourself. So once we are inside the classroom, we will not going to see what is the real setup outside the community. So it is better if we say knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, but we must do. So if we will just going to plan, but there is no movement or action that will take, the plan will not be effective. Let us not just dream, but we need to dream, but we have to do it in the real life. So just like a real world education teach you to things that you would never learn unless you sought them for yourself, because we will not learn unless we will going to apply what we are learning inside the classroom. So this is what we mean. Educators must enhance instruction with the real world, the theoretical knowledge, and then the practical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge, the study of concept to understand why certain methods are followed, why other methods failed, what went into developing these methods, what is the significance or impact of this method. So this is more on understanding, study the concept, what is all about that, and practical application. The students gets a hands-on experience with the concept under discussion. So if there is no application or the hands-on, there is no there is no experience, education is not or learning will not be effective. It should be theory, and after theory, there must be a practical application. So these two must go hand in hand. So learning anything without adopting practical approach, we can learn inside the classroom. We can learn anything inside the classroom, but it will not be effective unless it makes you capable enough to know how things happen in the real world. That's why we do not just talk, we do not just teach, and then we need to apply also what is really happening. So next, it can give you a deeper understanding of a concept, of understanding the why behind it. So instead of in the theoretical knowledge, we clearly ask the word why. And then, if we will going to apply that, we learn the facts in an interesting manner, which are best part of learning. That's why in the practical application, you can answer the question why. So, educators must enhance instruction with the real world. Next one, educators must be facilitators of learning, not sages on stages. What is the difference between these two? I always make a comparison so that learning will become easy. Sage on stage. The teacher centered education, or what we call the traditional method. Definitely, when we say the traditional method, the teacher is inside the classroom holding the chalk and the eraser, while here, the teacher, in the stage on stage, that teacher is always the center of attraction. And while here, facilitators of learning, or what we call the student-centered learning, meaning here, the teacher facilitate only the student in while during the activities. So the teacher will not interfere in this in the being a facilitator. He let or she let the students do the activities, and then until they will going to reach or the objective. So in here it is always the traditional education. The sage on stage teacher is the expert who owns all the knowledge and transmit it to the students. So here, it happens that the teacher is in the lectern, in front, talking, and knows everything. He or she is the expert of the knowledge and transmit it to the students, while students are seated and they will just going to nod and they say, okay. Here, facilitators of learning, they use their personalities and communication skills to engage and motivate their students. So there is a two-way communication skills here, the teacher and then the students. Here, the only person who communicates it's the teacher, while here the person who makes the communication, it is between the students and the teachers. That's why, as a facilitator, you need to motivate the students while inside the classroom so that they will be motivated to participate, to create, to solve problems, and then they will understand everything. This is facilitators of learning. Another takes a less central role and is more concerned to facilitate learning and to guide students in their learning and discovery. By this time, the role of the teacher is being lesser and is more concerned in facilitating learning and guiding students in their learning and discovery. So this is the difference between facilitators of learning, not sages on stages. Before, this is being done, the sage on stage. But now, in the modern times, facilitators of learning, there is what we call the shared responsibilities between the teacher and the students. And as a facilitators of learning, you will listen, you will able to improve more, or the students will be able to improve more of what they want to develop. This is what the new way of teaching in this time of pandemic. Educators must embrace discovery learning. What is discovery learning? Discovery learning encompasses an instruction model and strategies that focus on active, hands-on learning opportunities for students. So, if we let only students discover in their everything, teach them, let them do their activities, guide them, that is what we mean by discovery learning. Students itself, they will, when they discover the the lesson that are being given, or the task that is being given to them, they will going to know the answer right away. So it is very easy for us to discover, to let them discover many things. Educators must embrace embrace discovery learning. According to Bicknell, Holmes, and Hoffman in 2000, they described the three main attributes of discovery learning as exploring and problem solving to create and integrate and generalize learning. So we let students explore and solve their problem to create. So in solving their problem, they can create, they can integrate, and they will going to generalize the knowledge. Another, next, is student-driven interest based on activities in which the student determines the sequence and frequency. If you will only let the students do the exploration, the problem solving, let them integrate, they will be, the students' interest will be driven, will be they will be more interested in what they are doing. And activities to encourage integration of new knowledge into the learners' existing knowledge. We need to give activities, we need to let them do activities that will encourage them to integrate, create, think of a new knowledge into the learner's existing knowledge base. So this is educators must embrace discovery learning. So therefore we need to set aside the traditional method that we learned from before, and we need to adapt the discovery method. How do we make our lessons applicable to the real world? Okay. So when we make our lessons be applicable to the real world, so one is our strategies. What strategies are we going to use? We need to look to the news, what is happening around, invite guest speakers to the classroom, and then take a class field trip, simulate a real life experience, give students a real, tangible problem to solve. When we say tangible, we can see it directly. And when we say take a class field trip, in this part, students, when they go outside, they will see the real world, especially the small children or the students. They will think that it is really a reality that this is happening. So that is one way on how we make our lessons applicable to the real world. And then what age is that strategies will be suit. And then what, let's say the news, at least they are updated what is happening around. And when we invite guest speakers to the classroom, so that they are, when we need to invite guest speakers to the classroom by and by, so that we ask them, as we consider these guest speakers as the expert. And why is it important to take learning into the real world? A real world education teaches you the things you never learn unless you sought them for yourself. Just like, if we will not do what we are learning, we will not apply what we are learning outside, we will not going learning will not become effective. So we need to do some application. Why should teachers make learning relevant to the real world? Making real connections promotes student achievement through the authenticity of the learning. When we say connection, um, making real connection, we need to connect that promotes students' achievement. So if the students will going to see what is in the outside, the real world, the achievement through the authenticity, learning will become more effective. So real world connections provide more opportunities to learn how our communities and society work. So just like what I have mentioned a while ago, that in the grade 12, they have their immersion as part of the communities and society work so that they can choose what career are they going to uh, have in their college. So with this quote, we don't know what the future holds or how long school will stay closed, but we can try to shape each day to be positive, creative, exciting, and rewarding. As William Shakespeare reminds us in this quote, our potential is infinite. I would like to thank you for attending the program on our discussion, the role of the teacher in times of pandemic. I hope you have learned something from this webinar, and if you want more discussion, you can check the reference from my slide which you can access online. Thank you everyone, and please, if you have some more time, could you please help me out fill the evaluation for this presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your outstanding presentation you shared with our participants. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Dear participants, let's we proceed to our quiz competition. After a short video clips, we come back together. Dear participants, it's our quiz competition session. You can join the quiz by slido.com and the quiz code is IGP quiz. You can scan our barcode from the screen. To join the quiz, you have to go to slido.com and the code is IGP quiz. After quiz competition, we move to our question and answer session. Then we move to our certification process. To all participants already joined with us, to join our quiz competition, you have to go to slido.com and the quiz code is IGP quiz. You can scan the code from the screen. Let's start our quiz now. Our first question is says on stage means facilitator or teacher center or traditional education. 78% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is teacher center or traditional education. On the leaderboard, Catherine leading the first position, and the following Mark Joshua Diogo and Carmela BGN. Our next question is generalists are called is it jack of all traders or expert? 90% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is jack of all traders. On the leaderboard now, Evelyn gained the first position, and the following Mark Joshua Diogo and Catherine. Our next question is which among the following is an example of real life learning? Is it living alone or neos? 53% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is neos. On the leaderboard now, Mark Joshua Diogo gained the first position, and the following Catherine and Ginaline. Our next question is they help people to learn. These are trained professionals who are trained to share their knowledge. Is it priest or teacher? 100% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is teacher. On the leaderboard, again Mark Joshua Diogo leading the first position. Our next question is the student gets a hand On experience with the concept under discussion. Is it practical application or theoretical knowledge? 90% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is practical application. On the leaderboard, again, Mark Joshua Diogo leading the first position, and the following Ginaline and Evelyn Oeferi. Our next question: learning anything without adopting practical approach, is it practical application or theoretical knowledge? 100% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is theoretical knowledge. Our next question is: teacher-centered education, traditional education, is it stays on stage or facilitators of learning? 65% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is says on stage. Our next question: which among the following is an example of real world learning? Is it gives the students a real tangible problem to solve or staying at home? 100% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is gives the students a real tangible problem to solve. Our second last question is: it can give you a deeper understanding of a concept of understanding the way behind it. Is it practical application or theoretical knowledge? 68% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is theoretical knowledge. Our last and final question is: in theoretical knowledge makes you capable enough to know how things happen in the real world. Is it application, practical application, or theoretical knowledge? 52% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is theoretical knowledge. Congratulations of our top 10 participants. You can download your certificate from our Facebook page. The top 10 quiz winners download their certificates from our Facebook page. Thank you very much for participating in our quiz competition session. Now we proceed to our question and answer session. After a short video clips, we come back with our speakers. Thank you. Welcome back, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am, for waiting our backstage.
Thank you also. Welcome also, sir.
Ma'am, are you ready to answer the question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dear
Welcome.
participants, it's our question and answer session time. You can send your question in our comment box. Make sure to put it one by one so that our speaker understand it well. So participants are requested to ask their question in our comment box. Our speaker ready to answer the question. Ma'am, it takes sometimes to type the question. We are waiting for our question. Ma'am, our first question from Ramil Manti. Suggest some best practice if how can we be more practically relevant to learners if we are online.
Well, thank you, sir, for that questions. Ramil Mante. So, to be, how can we practices in order to connect with the students if we are online, we need to be creative enough, especially using this platform, different platforms, just like what we have now, in order to connect with them. We need to be creative. This is one way on how we can be more practically in connected with the students whenever in concerning with what we want to impart with them.
Thank
Sir,
you. Thank you, ma'am.
welcome.
Our next question from Maria Julita. The role of teachers in this new normal mode of education is very vital. How can we capture the attention of our students to focus more in studies rather than playing mobile games?
Okay, so this time, this in the new normal mode of education, this is very important or vital. How can we capture the attention of the students? Today, we are already applying the mind game. So there are certain subjects that we can use that mind game, Minecraft, and then mind game education. And then, of course, um, in using this technology, we can get their attention more. So, in order to capture the attention of our students to focus on their studies, so while playing, we teach them what is the importance of using that mobile games. It is not just a mobile games, but also it concerns also in their lesson, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Ma'am Evelyn. Good afternoon, ma'am. What effective strategy in exploring the learners to encourage the learners integrates into their existing knowledge in this distance learning? And thank you.
The effective strategy in exploring the learner is that as teachers we need to be more we need to be well informed about using the technology, and the learners also, because if you do not have much information in using this kind of technology, we cannot communicate to the students and we cannot even get their attention, and also to the lesson we cannot integrate what we want to give them. That's why in integrates into their existing knowledge in the distance learning, especially now some of our students are already attending their face to face, but some are still in the modular. But those who are in the modular, who are distant from us, we need to adapt the modular at the same time the online, and another one, of course, we are using different platforms as long as we are knowledgeable. That's why we need to attend the different education through technology. We can learn as long as we are very we initiate our own development. This is one way on how we can integrate what we have in our lesson. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Catherine Raimundo. Good afternoon, ma'am. What strategies can you suggest for teaching students, especially those with difficulties in learning?
So this is some kind of um, that needs special attention. So with these students who need with difficulties in learning, so give them or ask their parents that they have to guide their students, and at the same time you need to make another intervention, constant follow-ups. So those are the different strategies. So by and by, these students will have their interest, will be having their interest in their studies. Maybe they just need a kind of attention. And of course, as a teacher, we need to make an agreement with the parents that they need to guide their students. This is the common problem that we have, that there are really students who are having difficulties in their learning. Maybe their attention span is not quite in focus. That's why you need to they need to be guided. So we will going to use different strategies at the time you will going to get their attention to their studies, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Mark Joshua. Good afternoon, ma'am. What are your tips for in modifying self-learning module with discovery and practical learning, especially in rural areas that makes online class not feasible?
Okay, what will be the application for that? Maybe good tips. So for my tips, continue the module learning, the self module learning. Although online class, if online class is not feasible, in my case, what I do is I make a self video, have the PowerPoint and video lessons, and then if they have the cell phone, I will going to send the link and then watch me there teaching, explaining. At least in my part, them, I have made myself connected with them. And then with the evaluation, if they have their data, or I will just going to send the module. If others have their internet, what I do is that um, I give the video lesson that I created, and if they do not have the internet connection at the time that we will be having the online class, what I do is that I record what we have discussed and then send the link at least there is what we call the asynchronous. So there is asynchronous and then the synchronous, and it is just two-way system, three-way. One, the online. I'm doing the online, and if they weren't able to get the online class, they have the recorded video with our discussion, and then I create video that are posted in the YouTube, and then send it so that they can watch it. And with the link, evaluation link, what I am doing is that I will going to send it via text messages, and I do not close the existing evaluation link so that everybody will have the time to participate with the evaluation link. But if they do not have the internet at all, that is the time that I will going to send another one, black and white, that are printed. So it is a full of many tasks for the teacher, but I try to still connect with them. So we need to understand everything. Once the student will tell us they do not have internet or online is not feasible because they do not have the internet, or tell them that they need to do this, they have to catch this one, and then you still need to, or check on them if they were able to accomplish it. So there is what we call a, if you they cannot watch it now, there is a delayed telecast. They can watch that later. Ma'am. Ay, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question from Rose and Allos. Good afternoon, ma'am. What is the best way we can do to improve the learning of students during this new normal? And thank you.
With this one, students will improve only during these normal days, especially the time of pandemic that it's been almost 2 years that they did not attend the school. It is very challenging for us teachers. How can we get their attention back again? So today, this time of new normal, how can we improve them? Let us try to motivate them in the way how we can motivate them. So this is one way to improve them. But improving in not just one seated at all, one meeting, but it is a step by step solution until we get the attention of this student. It is really very challenging for us.
Thank you. Our next question from Maria Julita. How can we implement honesty in online education, whereas all the answer and information are all available in Google?
So this is very true. Is there really honesty online in online education? So during online education, like us, we are doing online meetings with our students. You can see on them those students who have read, who have checked their modules. That's why we have our page. I have my page, TLE Notebook, wherein the students are free to give, to check the module that are being used. So you can check on the students if they are really reading the module. Through the time that you are having your online, you will going to ask them. But I cannot say honestly that because there is Google, they can search. They can search. Students nowadays, or education nowadays is very easy. We can say that there is watch and learn YouTube. So there are so many interesting topics that are every everything is available. That's how we can say there is much honesty in the online education. But most of all, we need to exert effort in checking on these students. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for answering lots of questions and share your information, knowledge with our participants and giving us your valuable time. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. Thank you also.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear knowledge seekers, I would love to thank you all from my deep heart for attending today's session. I hope you learn something new and you will implement it in your life. Thank you very much for attending today's session. We are very sorry to say that today we can't share our certificate code. Just collect the link. We will share it tomorrow. Some of our technical problem in our website, we can access the code today. So collect the certification link. We will share the code tomorrow. Thank you very much for attending today's session and making this program wonderful. Thank you.